This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball. And tonight, from Busch Stadium, it's game number 2 of the 3-game series. The Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals. Jim Hayes is here. That's recording. I'm Dan McLaughlin, and welcome to Cardinals baseball. Disappointing game number 1, turn the page. But one of the things to think about from game 1 going into game number 2, the return of Yadier Molina.
Certainly the best news yesterday is that Yadi is back. Do you think the Cardinal fans missed their all-star catcher? You bet they did. They stood up, gave him a great round of applause here yesterday. How does he respond? Base hit his first at-bat and an RBI. That scored Marcell Ozuna. Yadier Molina, a guy that the Cardinals sorely miss. When he's not here, they've been able to tread water 13-13, but he handles the pitching staff, Dan, so well.
Yadier Molina is in the lineup tonight. He'll bat 5th for Mike Matheny's club. Trying to shore it up and get a little bit better defensively, and also some sloppy play from game 1. That needs to turn around. We'll find out. Game 2 is coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. moments happen, Budweiser will be there. And by Chevrolet, the #1 selling brand in the St. Louis area. Find yours at your Mid-America Chevy dealer. Gorgeous night here at Busch Stadium. The former Marlin, now Cardinal, Marcell Ozuna in the lineup tonight for St. Louis. The Marlins, Cardinals next. Is here as well. It's the Miami Marlins and the St. Louis Cardinals, game 2 of the 3-game series. Busch Stadium is still filling up, and the Cardinals trying to have a bounce back after a disappointing game number 1.
Well, the only good thing about yesterday was that Yachty was back, as we mentioned, in the open, and every team in the Central Division lost, so the standings didn't change. Milwaukee lost today, so the Cardinals are now 3 games back, and we know it's early to be showing standings, but we also know that Cardinal fans just want to see how we're measuring up. And the Pirates, of course, at 30-30 have dropped a bit after their great start, and Cincinnati 19 games under 500.
The Cardinals take to the field, and the former Marlin, Marcell Ozuna. We're waiting to highlight him, but come on, Marcell. Get to left field. We got a camera waiting there for you. That's Phil Nichols, who's in shallow left, and at some point, you know the crew chief, Joe West, is going to say, Marcell, take your position, and Phil, get out of here.
Running out of time, isn't he?
Right on time. There's a look at Jack Flaherty, his 7th start of the year. He's allowed 4 runs, and 3 of those earned. 5 innings, took a no decision his last start against the Pirates. Cardinals came back to win that game 10-8.
Jack Flaherty, another example of a highly touted pitcher, drafted and really raised well in the Cardinal minor leagues. 59% fastballs, his Hyundai pitch arsenal. What you love about Jack Flaherty is he seems like he's got an old head sometimes. He just seems very calm and poised and kind of nonplussed at whatever's going on around him. And be interesting to see if he can bounce back. Not a terrible start last time, but not one of his typical starts we've seen from him.
Native of Evansville, Indiana. Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly. 8th season as a manager, majority of that time spent with the Dodgers, now with the Marlins. And here's a look at his lineup with Starlin Castro at the top, then Derek Dietrich, JT Realmuto, Justin Bohr, Brian Anderson, Miguel Rojas, JT Riddle. Late insertion into their lineup, Lewis Brenson and Wei-Yin Chen. The pitcher is batting 9th. There's a look at Mike Matheny, the Cardinals skipper. And they're going to try to, well, get back on track against Miami. They've dropped 3 of the last 4 against the Marlins. We get a note that tells us that Pat Hoberg is now the home plate umpire. So that's a late change prior to our first pitch. Joe West, Chad Fairchild, Doug Eddings round out the umpiring crew here in St. Louis. And the first batter of the game is Starlin Castro. And Castro on the first pitch pops it up left side. Munoz and Carpenter there. It'll be Munoz with the catch. One pitch, one out. The Cardinals defense around the horn is presented by Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers. Ozuna, Pham, and Bader in the outfield. Carpenter, Munoz, Jerko, Martinez along the infield, and Yadier Molina is behind the plate. The second place hitter for the Marlins is Derek Dietrich, and he's hitting .267. When I think about Jack Flaherty, I think slider, especially against right-handed batters. It is a wipeout slider, a wipeout pitch, and right-handed batters, they have struggled against that pitch. 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's sharp. It has good depth to it. You'll hear hitters and managers, coaches, pitching coaches talking about depth. And what they're talking about, Dan, is just the changing of really the altitude of the pitch. It's going to be knee high, and then all of a sudden it's in the dirt at the last minute, and it dives quickly. Very sharp breaking ball for Flaherty.
2-1 the count.
That was a good example of it. You see the ball halfway there, you think that's headed down the middle of the plate.
Two and two. Well, Flaherty's a guy that has that slider, good fastball, will mix in the occasional changeup, especially to lefties. The 2-2 pitch. And a strikeout. First of the night for Jack Flaherty.
That's the wipeout slider of Flaherty. Team's just not hitting very well. 149 as a league against Flaherty on the slider with 2 strikes. Another example of that. And he is, Dan, our key to the game. Flaherty being sharp is important for the Cardinals to get back on track again. Flaherty being sharp to me is not just that slider, it's command of his fastball. When he's right, he's throwing his fastballs to all 4 corners of the plate, and his last outing he was just off. In, just off, away, just off, up, and it just didn't set up his slider very well.
Real Muto, a very good player, hitting .299, and now hit by the pitch with 2 outs. And it brings in Justin Bour, who has 10 home runs. He's driven in 26. He's got that old school look to his helmet too.
He sure does.
Tar, you can't even see the logo.
When you see a helmet like that, what player comes to mind first for you?
Oh boy, there's a bunch.
There are.
I'm going to think of the guy that had it the most.
I think of Manny Ramirez.
He was on my list.
Hanley Ramirez.
That's the guy I was going with. Pine Tar. I mean, Steve Klein would be proud of that helmet.
Yes, he would.
No batting gloves for Justin Bour. That's old school too. Then I think about the guys that have it going all the way up, basically the barrel of the bat. We've got a couple of guys in the Cardinals that have that. Marcell Ozuna, a ton of pine tar that goes way past the middle of the bat.
Somewhere George Brett is saying, wait a minute.
Here's a 1-1.
And for younger fans who may have not seen that particular home run, George Brett hit a home run for the Royals against the Yankees, and Billy Martin was the fiery manager for the Yankees, and he went out to Tim McClellan. He said too much pine tar up the bat, and they disallowed the home run, and Brett went crazy.
And he was saving that. He was waiting for the right time to do it. Billy Martin later told the story about it, that they had talked about anytime George Brett, if he's had a chance to beat us, and he does, we will essentially challenge, if you will. And the pine tar then on the bat is measured with the plate.
Right.
And so it went over the allotment that you can go, the length of the bat, and home run disallowed, and George Brett lost it.
I'm just thankful the pitchers never use it.
Sure, it never happens. The 2-2. Now, I'd like to say something here, because many times you'll tell our listeners, don't believe everything Dan says to you about me, meaning
Yes.
you.
I don't just tell our listeners that. I mean, I tell everybody I meet that. But
So,
go ahead.
I want to go back to your statement of the pitchers never using pine tar.
Yeah, don't believe that.
I don't quite believe that one either.
You know what? I didn't believe myself.
A lot of people believe it just should be a part of the game anyway. The 2-2. And a swing and a miss. A strikeout of Justin Bohr. Miami strands a runner, and the Cardinals coming up in the home half of the first. Matt Carpenter has been red hot since the middle of May. May 16th, he was hitting 140, and now it's up to 225. Then Tommy Pham, Jose Martinez, Marcelo Ozuna, Yadier Molina, Jed Jerko, Harrison Bader, Jairo Munoz, and Jack Flaherty.
Wei-Yin Chen is the starter here in Game 2. A 16-game winner in 2014 with Baltimore. He got on the map that year. He was thought of as the best left-hander in the American League at that point, and he's struggled a bit since then. Doesn't throw particularly hard, 63% fastballs. Fly ball pitcher. Last outing was the worst outing he's had in his career. Shortest, I should say. An inning and 2/3. That came against the Padres. It followed his best start of the year, where he went 7+ against the Nationals. So inconsistent. But again, he's going to get outs in the air, not on the ground.
Miami has lost 5 of the last 6 games that this lefty has started. 20 earned in his last 25 innings. And we will see if that continues tonight. Carpenter, the team leader in walks, a co-leader in doubles, with 15, tied with Jose Martinez.
We'd like to see a fast start offensively, wouldn't you?
Yes. We saw Carpenter with 3 hits yesterday, and he did his part, but really a sloppy game all the way around. Base running mistakes. Cardinal pitchers walked 9 in the game. Errors. Collectively not good. And the 1-1 pitch to Carpenter. You see the shift. The third baseman, Miguel Rojas, even with the bag at third, but well off the line, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike.
You know, you're going to have clunkers, Dan, when you play 162 games, and yesterday was most certainly a clunker. I think the real test becomes, how do you respond to that?
And it's fouled back, 3-2. Sometimes you can feel it and see it coming. You had such a dramatic series in many ways against the Pirates in those 4 games, then an off day, and you got to amp it back up. Sometimes it's tough to do. I know fans will say, well, wait a minute, look at the Marlins. This is a team that is in rebuild mode, and the record isn't very good. And you have to remind yourself it's 162 games.
Yeah,
and you're just going to have them.
Yeah, and they're big leaguers in their dugout, and this guy won, as I mentioned, 16 games 4 years ago. So again, he's not having a good season. He's only won 1 game, but he might be sharp today. You never know.
Backing up a step or two, Starlin Castro on a hard hit ball. And Carpenter retired a 7-pitch at bat. Dietrich, Schuck, and Anderson in the outfield. Check that. Brinson in center. Rojas, Riddle, Castro, and Bohr along the infield. Remuto is behind the plate.
J.B. Schuck was originally in the lineup and got scratched at the very last minute. So Lewis Brinson, who's one of their young star players of the future, is playing center field. Both of them pretty fast guys and very talented players. You know, Schuck is among one of the fastest players in the game, according to some metrics that I've read. Not the upside that Brinson has.
JT Riddle retires Tommy Pham, and it brings in Jose Martinez. So far, 2 ground ball outs.
Like I said, a fly ball pitcher, you're not going to see many ground balls.
It happens. So it makes this game so much fun. Every single time you come to the ballpark, you will see something different.
He actually has the highest fly ball percentage in the National League.
Right.
But again, sometimes people just regress towards the mean too.
So 2 outs and nobody on. Jose Martinez.
I'm rooting for
strike 1.
I'm rooting for a fly ball if he's going to make an out.
Well, I'm thinking that too. You got a couple in here that.
How about a big fly?
You got Martinez, you got Ozuna, Jerko, Bader. Here's the 0-1. We were talking before the game, and there's a look at some of the numbers that you referenced, but the fact is, Marlins have a lot of money that's either on the DL or they're paying former players. Ill-advised contracts that have come back to bite them. Roughly about $60 million of their payroll is going to players that aren't on the roster right now. And the 2-1 is a base hit under the glove of Rojas. With Marcell Ozuna coming to the plate, we take a look at our Kubota power stats and the numbers with the Miami Marlins for Marcell Ozuna.
And he's starting to swing the bat with a much more quiet base as a Cardinal, but big RBI numbers as a Marlin. Got off to a good start against his former teammates here yesterday. And you know, as we talk about any number in this series, Dan, this thought came to my mind of, well, what is Martinez against Chen? And oh, he hasn't seen him yet. Of course he's seen him, because we play him 55,000 times in spring training and have done that every year, sharing the same ballpark. So the numbers that we have are just in-season numbers, and they don't count actually the number of times a pitcher and a catcher have squared off.
One of the things we've seen with Ozuna, a cut down in his strikeouts. Last 15 games, he's only struck out twice. First 39 games, 40 times.
I think that was the start of him starting to feel more comfortable at the plate, is just staying back more. He was getting jammed a lot when he first started, not striking out, hitting little dribblers to the right side, ground balls the other way, and got some hits, and then just kept at it. And I think the stroke has come.
Pulled the string, and it's 1-2. I'm sure a relief on this homestand to pick up home run number 100. Then the following day had the grand slam, his first 2 home runs here at Busch Stadium, wearing a Cardinal uniform. Here's a 1-2 pitch.
Think about what a modern ball player has to deal with, Dan. I would say 30 years ago, players wouldn't have known when their 100th home run was coming up, or had they hit it yet. I mean, there was not much attention, but there's attention on everything right now. Everything.
And a chopper that's hit to short, JT riddled. So 4 batters and 4 ground ball outs. Nice homework, Ricky. And there's no score. Martinez to left. As you get a look at Mike Maddox, the Cardinals pitching coach. Let's check in with Jim Hayes.
Yeah, some rough news on Alex Reyes. Michael Gurr said that Reyes got his second medical opinion today, and it matched what Cardinal doctors had found in regard to his right lat strain, that the tendon had partially torn away from the bone. Gurr says all the doctors were in agreement that surgery to reattach it should be performed right away, so it was done today. Gurr says it's expected to be 6 months before Reyes is pitching again. Gurr also said we expect a successful recovery and that Reyes will be ready to go for spring training. Dan, Mike Matheny said of Reyes, this is another tough run for Alex, so we are all hurting for him. Very sad news.
Yeah, tough run for Alex, certainly tough run for the Cardinals. They were counting on him and the fan base. That's Brian Anderson at the plate as he hit the deck.
Well, Reyes, I think, was sorely missed last year, and he went to spring training, and there were some hopes of him being maybe a number 2, number 3 starter for the Cardinals, putting in a lot of innings, being a big-time winner. And when he got hurt the first time, I thought that was a blow that the Cardinals really never overcame last year. And they finished just a few games out and were in it down to that last week. But I think if they'd have had Reyes, it would have been a different story. So this year, you just add insult to injury, really add injury to injury by him being hurt again. That's just tough news. No two ways about it.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. You know, the Cardinals have gotten so much from their minor leagues. Think about Jordan Hicks. Ryan Helsley is close. Austin Gomber is here. There's a look at young Jordan Hicks. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Anderson. So 3 already tonight for Jack Flaherty.
And he is going to that breaking ball. He's got a sharp one, and then he opens it up a little bit to get a little extra break. That was a sharp one, down 83. And Anderson, by the way, Dan, has been one of the most impressive rookies in the National League. A 24-year-old right fielder. He's actually an infielder. He's been a third baseman and a second baseman, but they have him in right field here, and he's, at the moment, the top hitter among rookies in the National League, average-wise.
Pretty big shoes to fill, would you say, with Stanton in right last year?
Yeah, so the first thing you tell him is don't fill his shoes.
Just be you.
Be you.
Here's Miguel Rojas, the third baseman. He's batting .244 in the 1-0 pitch. Drops down a bunt that's foul, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. I wonder if right-handed batters tonight, Rick, will be more aggressive early in the count with Jack Flaherty.
Yeah, I think we've seen 2 things from other teams as a way to combat the great stuff of Jack Flaherty. One is they're aggressive early because they don't want to face that slider with 2 strikes. And secondly, they've been asking for time to slow down his rhythm. The Phillies did that. He didn't like it, and he showed that he didn't like it. So other teams have tried it since then. I expect that the Marlins will do it a little bit here tonight.
That game against the Phillies, he was masterful with 13 strikeouts. Match a Cardinals rookie record. And the 2-1 pitch to Rojas.
Every pitcher likes a pace and a cadence, and you want to do it the way you want to do it. Every hitter has his own pace and cadence. So it's a little bit like 2 basketball teams trying to figure out who's going to control the pace of the play. And that's conversation we always hear in a basketball game. Well, it happens between hitter and pitcher, too.
And the rhythm right now with his catcher, which is Yadier Molina. Good to see him back.
I'll say.
Well, it takes some guts with what he went through. He called it the worst pain he's ever experienced. And let's face it, when you're down there in that crouch position, you are exposed. It's a hard position. It takes guts to get back there.
We mentioned the 13-13 Cardinal record while he was gone. Still give credit to Francisco Pena for doing a good job for Mike Matheny. I think he did a good job with the bat, handling the pitchers best he could do, and so he's here. Carson Kelly sent back to AAA, and I think Pena certainly showed well for a backup catcher.
And when he eats up Jairo Munoz, that'll be his 5th error. Ball came up on him a bit, and it may have got him on the wrist.
Looked like he let the ball crowd him a little bit too, instead of getting it out front. Easy to say, tough to do, but something about the hop he was not ready for, and just hits the heel of his glove and gets a little wrist too.
Cardinals had 2 errors last night. Now with 44, that's 3rd most in all of baseball. It brings in JT Riddle, left-handed batter, hitting .242. Missed on the inside corner. Outfield is straight away with 1 out, and the 1-0 pitch, Flaherty to Riddle. Line to left, and there's Ozuna with the catch. The GMC leaderboard, lowest ERA among rookie starters this year. And Jack Flaherty, number 2 on that board, 2.62.
Certainly acquitted himself well. Came out of that 2014 draft, and we just had the draft obviously the last couple of days, and you think about those guys we're talking about now, 4 years from now they'll be starting at shortstop, playing right field, and maybe some before 4 years, but I think that's a reasonable time frame for a player to develop. The high school guys a little longer, but it just shows how important it is to draft well.
And now more than ever, young players being pushed to the major league level. 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21. It's a premium on young talent, and you think about getting to 31, 32 years of age, and that's considered an older player in the game today. So 2 outs and 1 on. And that's tap foul. Brinson hitting 161, third lowest among all major league qualifiers.
One other thing about the Munoz error that we don't probably point out enough is how many more pitches will Jack Flaherty throw this inning? He should be on the bench right now. And I'm not picking on Munoz. It's just the reality of how I'm just pointing out how defense and pitching go hand in hand. Defensive plays, when they're great plays, they help their pitcher. But if you make an error, you prolong the inning. And we're in an age now of pitch counts, Dan, where that's even more important than ever before. Pitcher's trying to get through 5 or 6. Well, if he throws an extra 8 pitches this inning, that may shorten his outing.
He's had 3 extras so far, and again another check. The runner at first base. Joe West with the call at first base, one of your favorites. You have all his CDs. The singing cowboy. Here's an 0-1 pitch to Brinson. Brinson picked up in the Christian Yelich deal from Milwaukee.
When Joe West first came to the big leagues, there were a lot of players that found him, well, just a little overly confident, but I think we've all learned to love him now, and I know the Marlins are going to learn to love Lewis Brinson, and they paid a high price for him. And we saw him a bit with Milwaukee, originally drafted by the Rangers, and he's one of those guys that you just think, well, he's a can't miss guy. Well, sometimes the can't miss guys miss, but I don't think he will.
Here's an 0-2 pitch. Ooh, doesn't get the call. Have you noticed the amount of moths that are in our booth tonight?
Yes.
Of course, one was flying right by you, and instead of you trying to hit it out of the booth, which is wide open, we don't have glass, it's not air conditioned.
I hit it towards you.
You put it right on me.
We don't want another Matt Holliday situation.
No. Moth in his ear. That was a first. And the 1-2 is a base hit. Hung a breaking ball, and the throw to third is offline. So they know about Ozuna too, and they take the extra base. That's a heads-up play.
Well, I think the other thing he saw is no one was really covering third base either. That's a breaking ball up. It's a mistake, and Brinson gets it. So because Carpenter has to go for the ball, there's nobody on third base. So Munoz has to be the one to try to get to the bag. So heads up base running indeed.
Wei-Yin Chen hitting 182. No homers, has driven in 2. I would say it's little things like that the Cardinals going forward have to shore up. It's got to get better.
Might count 5 extra pitches now.
And Chen puts it in play to Munoz. And Miami will strand a pair. Yadier Molina is coming up. You can take us with you. Fox Sports Go. Stream the Cardinals. It's presented by T-Mobile. The moths are currently the size of small birds. They are everywhere tonight. You know, there's some attendance news to tell you about concerning the St. Louis Cardinals, and it is remarkable year after year the amount of people coming through the turnstiles and supporting the St. Louis Cardinals. 15th consecutive season. They have exceeded the 3 million mark in ticket sales. That happened today. It's the 22nd time in franchise history. But yet again, 3 million plus. And they're edging, it looks like, to 3-3, 3-4 again this year. You know, we say it's St. Louis's team, but such a regional team, and what this franchise means to so many throughout the Midwest.
Very much so.
Another nice round of applause for Yadier Molina. Missed 26 games. As Rick mentioned, the Cardinals played .500 baseball. They went 13-13. Molina, first time up last night, back in action, and a base hit that scored Marcelo Zuna. The 2-0 pitch, and a strike, 2-1. 20 current players right now on the Cardinals 40-man roster selected in baseball's draft and developed by St. Louis and brought up to the club. That includes number 4. Cardinals have had just a remarkable run, especially in the mid-2000s, late 2000s. Their drafts, which are now run by Randy Flores. Michael Wacha, one of those draft picks, number 19 overall, became an NLCS MVP. The 2-2 pitch. And a strikeout of Molina, first of the night for Chen. MLB at Bat, your #1 Cardinals app. Customize your experience to catch every moment this season. Home screen icons, features such as the MLB.TV game of the day, pitch tracking, in-game highlights, live radio broadcast, stats, news, and more. Download MLB at Bat today. And the batter is Jed Jerko. He smokes one out to center. Brenson back. He spun around, and it's over his head. And a 1-out double for Jed Jerko.
Well, Brenson is billed as a plus defender, but this is error number 6 for him. It's not an error, but he has 5 errors. But he really does make an error on this play. Not making the right route. Certainly it's going to be a double for Jerko, but the point is the plus defender has struggled a little bit defensively. I think I swallowed one of those moths. Thanks for your concern.
No problem. Now Harrison Bader. And a strike. So Bader, who has really just crushed left-handed pitching, gets the start tonight. A short lead at second base. That's Jed Jerko. And the 0-1. Inside corner, 0-2. Bader kind of shaking his head. He didn't like that call. You see against lefties, batting .323. A couple of home runs, has driven in 4. Ooh, almost hit by that pitch.
How did it not hit him? He leaned into it a little bit, but I'd much rather watch Bader hit anyway. He's been, to me, one of the more exciting Cardinal players of 2018.
Puts it in play. You know he's hustling. The throw, and they just get him by a step. Boy, he gets down the line. That's part of that excitement that you're talking about, the way he can run. Arquilla drive to success. Jairo Munoz as a starter this year. 14 starts, a .320 average, couple of home runs, and he's driven in 11. It was the walk-off in the first game back at this homestand. The intentional pass to Munoz to bring in Jack Flaherty, who is 1 for 10.
Well, Dan, you've heard me say this hundreds of times. Never lose on D-Day. And it is June 6th. I've read so much about that particular day and what the Allied forces did. I always think about June 6th as a special day, and Cardinal victory would make the day even better.
2 outs and 2 on. At some point tonight, the Cardinals will recognize a veteran of our armed services, and could be World War II, could be from Vietnam, could be what's happening now. It's always a special moment here at the ballpark. It's Luke Gregerson there on the right, and Luke is close to heading out on another rehab assignment. Matt Bowman also getting closer, so some roster moves probably coming up here for the Cardinals.
Bowman and Holland,
another one,
should go out tomorrow and join AAA Memphis on a rehab assignment. Both Matt Bowman and Greg Holland, and the Cardinals certainly looking for some answers in the 7th and 8th innings. More answers, let's put it that way. And maybe it'll come from them.
That's it out of play.
You know, I did say this the other day, and I know not everyone agrees with this, Dan, but I still think Greg Holland could be a key player for the Cardinals in 2018. And I know he was not good. I mean, he would say he's not good. There's no question about it. Undeniable. But what his upside can be, if he comes back right, I think that solves some Cardinal bullpen issues. It puts everybody else in a slot where they can succeed.
I thought you put it best. You know, you look at Hicks, he's like 7 and 8, and Norris is like 8 and 9.
Exactly, and that doesn't work, especially not every day. You know, that's the other thing. You and I talk about this a lot, and the bullpen will be a factor today. I mean, we're early in this game, but we just know it's going to happen. So you can't use your best 7, 8, 9 every day. It doesn't work. They can't throw every day. So you've got to trust in the depth of your bullpen. So when we're talking about guys like Bowman and Holland going on a rehab, that's important stuff in my mind.
And the 1-2 is a grounder and a bad hop, but Rojas stays with it. It touches the bag at third. Cardinals strand a pair. They left 3 on in 2 innings, and there's no score. is brought to you by Siteman Cancer Center, national leaders in cancer. Try the $4.99 Jack's Spicy Chicken Club Combo with toasted sourdough, new from Jack in the Box. And by Toyota. Let's go places. A sad and a touching moment. I know that many have reported this throughout the Midwest. We waited on purpose to tell our fans of the passing of Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst out of respect to his family. That was the crowd's reaction to seeing it on the video board just posted, the passing of the Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst. We love Red.
Oh, absolutely. And the Cardinals obviously wanting to have an opportunity to tell all the fans, 40,000 people here at one time, and not wait till after the game, but let them know at an appropriate time between innings here. And you know, there's going to be an awful lot said and thought about Red and talked about when it comes to his influence and his legacy of Cardinal baseball. But anybody wearing a Cardinal uniform owes a great debt to the Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst.
Here's a 1-0 pitch to Starlin Castro. During the commercial break, they did make the announcement, posted the picture on the video board of Red. 19 seasons, nearly 2,500 hits, 15 of the 19 seasons spent with the Cardinals. He's a 10-time All-Star. And he literally waited outside Union Station for a chance to sign with the St. Louis Cardinals. Slept on a bench outside of Union Station.
Didn't have money for a hotel. Wanted the dream of being a Cardinal. Lived the dream of being a Cardinal. Lived the dream of being a Cardinal manager. Lived the dream of being a Cardinal World Series manager. And a Hall of Famer. And one of the sweetest guys you could know.
And a base hit into right by Starlin Castro. One of the amazing stories that Red told me, and it's, you know, some people know it, some may not, but while working on a fence, he suffered a serious injury to his left eye. It was with a nail, and doctors recommended removal of his eye. And he found out there was a non-surgical treatment that he could use that would work. Did not have great vision, and yet still became a major league player. Had constant headaches, he told me, years of rehab. Very hard to pick up a breaking pitch, but still would find a way to do it. And there's nothing that we could say any more than what you just said in terms of what a great human being he was. He was class personified. Red Schoendienst.
You know, I would add, Dan, that he's one of those people that people would ask you, what's the first thing you think about Red? And I would say all the time, I've never seen him or heard him say anything negative about somebody else.
There's a high fly ball into right. Bader back at the wall, and it's gone. A 2-run homer, Derek Dietrich, and it's 2-0 Miami.
You know, it's, Dan, it has a sense of being a somber moment here at the ballpark, but it also has a sense to me as it's the right moment to have here at the ballpark. Not the right moment to just kind of go on and play ball and say, okay, well, who's up now and what's the score. And not that the game doesn't matter, and the fans here, of course, want to see baseball, but you're talking about really since the passing of Stan Musial, Red, to me, the most iconic Cardinal of them all. And of course, they were great buddies, teammates, friends,
roommates.
So just at least, Dan, on behalf of you and me, we certainly wish to the Shandy's family and friends and all around him just peace and comfort at this time, and certainly want to extend our condolences.
That's into right center, cut off by Bader. Throw back into the infield. Realmuto, who can really run, jogs in with a double. So a single, 2-run homer, and now a double. Oh, I'd say it's been maybe 5 years. So Red was probably roughly 87, 88, 89, still dressing out for spring training in full uniform and hitting fungos. And we would say, Red, why do you do this? Why do you still dress out and hit the fungos and talk to the players? And he said, young people keep me young. And I love being around this game. And I love being around ball players.
Spring training will certainly not be the same without Red Shandy.
I played golf with Red when he was past 80, Rick, and it was myself, Mike Shannon, Red Shandy. Red played the first 9, and it was a blistering hot day down in Houston. And he said, I just want to ride on the back 9. So we get to 18. Red says, you know, I'll play this final hole. And Red did not have a normal golf grip. He gripped it like a bat. He steps up and knocks it 275 yards, and he was 80 plus when he did it. It was unbelievable. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Justin Bohr. He treated everybody here at the ballpark with such great respect, from the ball players, front office, fans. Red many times would pop his head here into the television booth just to say hello.
Oh yeah.
Get a chance to talk with him between innings. Then he'd go over and hang out with the radio crew, and we're going to miss him. And a grounder that's pulled foul. Germantown, Illinois native. World champion player and manager. Red was 95. He is survived by his 4 children, Colleen, Kathleen, Eileen, and Kevin. 8 living grandchildren. He had a total of 10. 7 great grandchildren. And Red was the oldest living member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Touched many, many lives. The 3-2 pitch here to Justin Bohr.
And again, we'll have a lot of thoughts and stories and stats and just comments about the baseball and managerial career of Red Shandy's. But if you ask me, his resume has to really start with his friends and the people that he affected personally just by being around him. He could just light up a room to me, and I just hard to convey just how special a man he was. Forget the baseball part.
Off of Flaherty, kept on the infield by Munoz. And quickly the medical team will check on Jack Flaherty. That line drive looked to be off his back, maybe the lower portion of his back. That's 4 consecutive base hits.
And hit hard too.
And if it wasn't his lower back, it might have been a little bit lower and a little fleshier area.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing, actually. There's the pitch up in the zone, not really the location he wanted, and right in his wallet.
How many times now are we seeing these comebackers?
Oh boy,
against the Cardinals and just the games that we're watching. Man, oh man.
I'm going to say, to specifically answer your question, I would say a dozen times we've seen a play like that, and that's just the games we are seeing and watching and covering, and you magnify that throughout baseball, and it's become an epidemic with pitchers throwing as hard and hitters with the exit velocity that they have.
And last night it was Carlos Martinez. He was hit with a comebacker. Now Brian Anderson, who struck out first time up. Back to Flaherty again. He'll go to second, out there, back to the plate, and safe. Real Muto scores the third run of the game for the Marlins.
When Flaherty knocks this down, he does check the runner at third, but maybe not enough, and not turning his head. He got the lead runner at second base, but the real lead runner at third, Real Muto, sneaks in a perfect slide. Really nicely done by Real Muto.
So now a runner at first, and Miguel Rojas, the batter, reached on an error back in the second inning. If he fields it cleanly, you probably have two and maybe a runner that's still at third base. It's a fielder's choice and an RBI.
That's one of those tweener plays for a pitcher, and you have to make the choice. Do I want to get a double play or give up the run? And that often is dictated from the bench and is based on a lot of circumstances. The score of the inning, etc. Who's up next? I think in this case Jack would love to have gotten just the double play even if the run was going to score.
So one out and a runner at first base, and already now a 3-0 lead for Miami.
And the runner at third, Real Muto, had he fielded it cleanly, he would have taken off right away to make sure he either drew the throw and got the one out just to keep from getting the double play.
Anderson at first. He has a couple of stolen bases this year. Some of these pitches this inning from Flaherty have been up. Not seeing the sharp break on the slider. And the 1-0 pitch now to Miguel Rojas. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You just have to stop the bleeding and just kind of move on from this inning if you're Flaherty, but it just hasn't been good right from pitch 1 in this inning. A lot of hard hit balls.
The 21st pitch of the inning. It's up to 53 for the game. And the 1-1 is a double play ball. Munoz, Jerko, the turn, and a double play. Sad night here in St. Louis, the passing of the great Red Schoendienst. Passed away at the age of 95. Tim Trokey is the producer for our post-game and pre-game shows, and he said that there'll be a beautiful piece that's been voiced by Tim McCarver coming up after the game. Tim, of course, played under Red and those great teams in the 1960s, and we had the 67 reunion from a year ago and 68 just a couple of weeks ago, and I did a lot of those interviews with the players, the former players. And to a man, every one of them talked about their love and appreciation for Red Schoendienst and how he handled that team. Just go play.
Just go play is exactly how he was as a manager. He always said that, well, how are you going to decide who makes the team? And he says, well, the players will eliminate themselves. That's what he loved to say. And so the bad players eliminate themselves and the good players get it done. So you just let them play and you keep playing the good players. I mean, you hate to say that. I mean, that's simple, Dan, but that's kind of how it is.
It's in a nutshell, isn't it? Now a shift on here for Carpenter with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ton of room on the left side of the infield.
We talked about Matt's 3-hit game here yesterday. He's had 4 of them this year, and I have a feeling he's going to have more. Starting to hit his stride. The timing's back from Matt. He doesn't seem in between and lost late on the fastball, early on the breaking ball. He's got the timing down. Much better pitch recognition, I would say.
3-2.
How many fly ball outs has Chen recorded?
Yeah. Not a 1.
Mm-hmm.
A 3-2 pitch. Left center. Brinson makes the catch. June 29th, 30,000 fans 16 and older get a fashion boost. They'll take home a one-of-a-kind Cardinals all over print shirt courtesy of the Shane Company. And tickets for the June 29th game. Braves will be here. Cardinals.com/promotions. The first fly ball out for a fly ball pitcher as we play here in the 3rd inning. Here's Tommy Pham. It's a young Marlins fan, made his way to St. Louis. Derek Jeter, really the new face of the franchise in many ways, part of an ownership group that has taken over.
Well, they have a challenge ahead of them, and the challenge is to get out from under some of the business decisions that have been made long before Derek Jeter got there, and all the players that they are currently playing or paying that aren't even on the team or on the disabled list.
There's a base hit for Tommy Pham.
Tommy's hit into some bad luck lately. It has not been a good couple of weeks for Tommy offensively, but he certainly deserved one of those to find a hole. He hit that ball hard.
Ricky, our buddy and longtime business partner was Stan the Man, and then after that, Red and Lou and Bob Gibson is Dick Zitzman. And just got a text from Dick, and he said Stan and Red, the 2 most decent players and human beings I have ever met. He said, I know firsthand. Dick and to Red's friends, we're thinking about you tonight too.
Very well said, and certainly think about the people that were close to Red, and they're grieving at the moment.
And a fly ball into left, and that ball will get down. Tommy Pham racing to third, and Pham will score. It's an RBI double for Jose Martinez, and the Cardinals get on the board to make it 3-1.
Red loved effort. the base hit in the corner by Martinez, but the effort of Tommy Pham, he was not going to be denied. He was flying around the base paths. He was going to score, and he wasn't going to really listen to what Jose Oquendo had to say. He had it in his mind to score and pick up that RBI for Jose.
You know, you bring up an interesting point is now the tying run comes to the plate. We used to see it all the time, in particular with Albert Pujols. Albert Pujols would round third, and Jose Oquendo would be emphatic in trying to put up a stop sign. But it really wasn't meant to stop Albert Pujols. It was more of a decoy, and that's being done with some of the players now.
And I believe that happened last night. I believe he did not stop Jose Ozuna last night. I believe he stopped the left fielder from throwing him out. And I hadn't had a chance to corroborate that with Jose, but I know Jose is famous for that. He did it with Albert all the time, as you mentioned. Put up the hands, because what happens is the outfielder relaxes. Oh, he's not going, and that split-second difference. So what Jose's doing is he's putting his hands up, stopping him, but he's yelling to Ozuna, go, 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 in Spanish. So I know it's been reported that Ozuna ran through the stop sign. I'm not so sure about that.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Ozuna inside, and it's 2-1. So second time through this lineup for Chen, and let's see if the Cardinals can't get to him. Three and one. Molina on deck.
Ooh, that was a hanger.
Sure was.
Well, he gets away with it because it's too far inside. It hangs, but it hangs on the inner half, and all Ozuna can do is smoke it foul.
And the 3-2 pitch to Marcell Ozuna. Well, Chen has struck out one. That was Molina back in the second. And I'm not saying he won't strike out Marcell Ozuna, but right now it looks like his stuff is not the kind of put away stuff that you think about.
No, and Ozuna is much more locked in with his swing. Certainly an opportunity here for the Cardinals. They're already back in it by picking up a run, get the momentum back in their way, but I'd like to get that run in from second base as well.
The 3-2. Ozuna with a drive out to deep right field. And the catch is made the middle of the track. And Jose Martinez is standing at second. And it brings in Yadier Molina.
That's a good at-bat by Ozuna from start to finish. The result not there.
And with 2 outs, runner at second base. I could tell you're okay with Martinez being at second base.
Yeah, and well, the reason I am is, you know, Jose does not run that well. And if he goes back like that, drops that ball, picks it up, and Jose doesn't score, I'm more concerned about that, because that was deemed in his mind to be a tough play. And he was going to have to make a tough play for it to be an out. And it was a tough play and well hit by Ozuna. I mean, I can see it both ways, though, Danny. I do agree. But the point is, I think Martinez in his mind is thinking, if he catches it, I'm still in scoring position, no harm done. If he drops it and I don't score, that's a big miss.
He's swatting away those moths, too.
That's because you swatted him down there.
No problem. Get him out of here. Oh, 0-2 the count on Yadier Molina. Jammed him. Slowly hit to Rojas. And the threat is through. The Cardinals pick up an RBI double by Jose Martinez. And it's now 3-1.
Dan, Carlos Martinez lasted only 4 innings in his return to the rotation. Last night walked 5. Michael Gersh told me Carlos checked out fine with the medical staff after the game, and there are no health concerns with Carlos moving forward. The Cards also confirmed today that Ryan Sheriff did in fact have Tommy John surgery yesterday in Los Angeles. That news originally broken on Ryan's Instagram account. And Greg Holland and Matt Bowman will both start rehab assignments with Memphis tomorrow. Dan?
All right, Jimmy, thanks. John Jay, by the way, is on the move. He's been traded to the Arizona Diamondbacks for 2 minor league pitchers. So out of Kansas City and to Arizona. I think if you put John Jay on a winning club, he's a perfect fit.
Oh, I would agree 100%. He just hit. I mean, he flat out hits.
And the 2-0 is whacked into left center. Pham going back, calls off Ozuna and makes the catch.
It's a big inning for Jack Flaherty to settle down and have a nice quick inning and get deeper into this game. If this becomes a big pitch inning, then Cardinals are in some problems. They're going to have to go to their bullpen early, and Flaherty's due up 4th. I think if he has a good 1, 2, 3 inning, you won't really worry about that at the point of him coming up next inning. But if it's a blow up inning for him, it could go the other way too.
Lewis Brinson singled to left back in the 2nd inning. Another good slider, nothing at 2. Rick, what were you doing? Because I know, but I'm going to ask you, what were you doing this date a year ago?
I'm going to guess Cardinal baseball.
Yes.
Okay. This date a year ago, was I with you?
No, sir. You were on the road in a historic night in baseball.
Huh.
And a strikeout of Brinson. Should I just tell you where you were?
Before my brain explodes, yes. I think that'd be a good idea. Where was I? I know where I was.
Where?
Was I in Williamsport?
No, sir.
Oh.
That was later in the year. I had your schedule on my calendar.
Yeah, I can just look on my phone here, but I'll just rather have you tell me.
Scooter Gennett hit 4 home runs.
Oh, yeah.
Became the 17th player in baseball to do that. Now, the amazing thing Since that time, 36 home runs for Scooter Gennett. 332 total bases. That trails only Nolan Arenado and Charlie Blackmon. I mean, Scooter Gennett has turned out to be one heck of a player for the Reds.
He sure has. He was really cast off by the Brewers as just a guy, and we have a replacement for him. We have VR in the wings. He's going to be our second baseman, and yet Gennett just continues to rake. And now you think about Votto Gennett back to back. That's tough.
Yeah. And that's where an injury like Ryan Sheriff becomes even more important for the Cardinals when you think about the Central Division and the lefty bats that you have to get out. We'll see that this weekend with Votto and Scooter Gennett. And a strikeout back to back. And that's 5 for Jack Flaherty tonight. 1, 2, 3 go the Marlins. Authority of the Cardinals and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. 3-1 our score, bottom of the 4th. You know, a lot of dreams have been realized the last 3 days with the MLB draft. We have our head of sales at Fox Sports Midwest, Ken Allgaier. Well, his son pitched at Iowa, and Nick Allgaier was selected by the Blue Jays in the 12th round, 356th overall pick of the draft. So congratulations to Nick, Ken, the entire Allgaier family. It's a wonderful, wonderful day. And I know a little bit about Nick. He went to Vianney High School, was a terrific pitcher there, went to Iowa. He's had Tommy John surgery. Ken would actually call me and ask me, you know, what do you think we should do? Should we have the surgery, not have the surgery, whatever? You know, you're so invested in your children.
Of course, yeah.
It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to see that Nick has been drafted. And I asked, you know, Randy Flores about that. I said, is it almost beneficial to draft a guy that's had it, that's already gone through Tommy John? And he said, you know, we really don't have a stance one way or another. He said, but certain people do.
Yeah.
You know, they look at it and say, well, it's so commonplace. Maybe we will take the guy that's already had it. But regardless, congratulations to Ken Allgaier and his son Nick on heading to pro baseball.
Absolutely. You know, having Tommy John doesn't necessarily mean you wouldn't end up having it again. I mean, that's right. Happens sometimes. Not often, but it happens.
That's yanked foul down the left field line by Jed Jerko.
So the draft certainly something to be excited about, and those names that are just names to us now will be a lot more than that as time goes on, and they may be players that come to St. Louis and wear the birds on the bat, or they could be chips to use to get in Marcell Ozuna down the road. You get valuable players, you develop them the best you can, and then you coach them up, and you hope that by the time they get to the big leagues, they're ready and they just take off. You know, Dan, I must say, just a strange combination of emotions for me to realize that the last 2 games that you and I have had a chance to do, both emotional for different reasons. The Michael Wacha near no-hitter and the joy of that and the tension of that, and of course today, for those who've not heard it, the passing of Red Schoendienst today, very somber. But Michael was extraordinary.
I talked to John Mozeliak about it, and he said it was one of the first times, and we know John very well. He's extremely even-keeled. Does not get too high, doesn't get too low. And this is the outing that Michael had. Took a no-hitter into the 9th, and John was saying by the 7th inning, he said my palms were sweaty. He said I turned into a fan. He said I was so invested into the game and wanting him to get it, and he was so close. And I thought it was interesting. He said, well, yeah, we did have a long bottom of the 8th, but hey, I wanted more runs anyway. And we both felt maybe, just maybe, it shook up the rhythm. You know, so much time to think, but any way you want to look at it, it was an outstanding performance. Here's the 0-2 pitch, and Bader rips it into right center field, and that ball is down. Bader to second, and he'll stop there with a 1-out double, and he's 1 for 2.
You'll hear about a young hitter and they'll often say, well, he's got gap power. Well, what is gap power? This is gap power. The ability to drive the ball either into right center or left center with enough force that it gets to the wall for extra base hits. You know, power, Dan, is not just home runs. That was a power stroke by Bader. It gets him in the scoring position, one swing of the bat. And to me, I think doubles, triples, and home runs are all power numbers. We are enamored by the home run, just as we are enamored by the strikeout, but the game has a lot more nuances to it than that.
There's Jairo Munoz, and a soft liner. It was Bader's first hit this month. He was 0 for 9, and it came on an 0-2 pitch. I think of Red, I also think about the 1950 All-Star game. Hit a home run, the 14th inning. Game-winning hit, and won the game for the National League. One of the highlights of his career. There were many.
In an odd way, Dan, and it's actually true, but it's different. I can say that I played for Red Schoendienst. When Whitey Herzog,
interim.
When Whitey Herzog left the Cardinals, Red was the interim manager for a short period of time before they moved on. And Red, of course, classic Red, just go out and play.
Right. Well, even a guy like Bobby Tolan, who I talked to, who turned out to be a very good player and was when he was in St. Louis, but he was boxed in because of great players ahead of him. And he said, you know, you could look at my situation back then and be really frustrated you're not playing, but how could you be when you had Maris and Shannon, Javier? You know, he could play the outfield, infield, he could do a little bit of everything. And he said it wasn't Red's fault as Bader moves from second to third. He said, as a matter of fact, Red was absolutely outstanding in my situation, is still making me feel a part of the team, wanted, important. And he said, when I think of Red Schoendienst, he said, I love the man. Now the infield is brought in with a count of 1 ball and 2 strikes on Munoz after the wild pitch. The check swing did not go.
With the pitcher on deck, I wonder if they were tempted at all to walk Munoz, which is what they did the last time. But you've got the lead 3-1. You're ahead in the count 1-2. after the wild pitch. So I think I would have done what Don Mattingly's doing here, but you're trusting your pitcher here not to give in to Munoz.
That was going to be my question to you. Does he see a strike? They try to get him to chase.
That's what they're trying to do.
Stan used to always say that Red was my roommate, and together we would always routinely have about 10 hits a game.
Right. I'm just thinking, Dan, I was honored to speak with Red about 10 days ago, and I can say that I know he knew he was ready, but I don't think we were.
There's a fly ball, shallow right. Anderson with the catch. Bader tagging up, play at the plate. He's safe. He took a chance and it pays off. And it's now a 3-2 Miami lead. That is eerily similar to Bader's debut a year ago with Carlos Gonzalez of the Rockies in right, and a shallow fly ball. And we got our first look up close at Harrison Bader. We thought there's no way he's going to tag. He did. He scored the winning run, and he does it here.
Why is he running? Flaherty's next. You have to take this chance with the pitcher coming up. And there's a case really of Real Muto, as I understand the rule, blocking the plate without the ball too. I think that's an issue, and there's no harm done between the two who collided there, and a good strong throw too. But a lot of things can go wrong when you're talking about right field, even if it's not deep right field. The hop may go one way, to the left, to the right. The catcher may have to catch it high with the runner sliding low. So many things can happen. It's worth the risk, and clearly paid off.
Now Flaherty with something in his eye, so drop the bat. And he's asking the medical team of the Cardinals to come out and help him out.
Did he lose his contact lens, maybe?
It sure is.
There's
That's his
the contact lens.
Yep.
Well, with some dirt on it, I assume he's not going to put that in his eye. And I'm not sure what you do here. Do you just go ahead and hit without it, or do you just bring out the saline solution and go to work? I guess that's what you do. Give him a new one. That's what I was thinking. Looked like the disposable kind, which, you know, putting in a contact lens, Dan, is a little bit of pressure, but when 40,000 people are waiting for you to hit,
it's a lot.
It's not that easy to stick that finger in that eye. Yeah, take your time, Jack. We'll be fine. It never works the first time, does it?
I do not wear contacts. Do you?
Oh, I do.
So I've never had the pleasure of going through this in front of 40,000 plus.
It's all in the technique, Dan. You have to kind of look up and tilt your head back and then just hope that it lands in the right spot. A mirror would help. Contact lens theater.
All right, he's ready to roll. He's saying, you know what, hitting's tough enough, but if I can't see, it's really tough. No balls and a strike on Flaherty with 2 outs. Of course, what do? You spin a breaking ball up there.
I know that blinking feeling too, so it's not quite right. The vision's not quite there, and
that ball wasn't that far from Matt Carpenter. goodness. And the 0-2 strikeout of Flaherty, and the second of the night for Chen. The Cardinals, though, pick up a run. Sac fly by Munoz to bring in the racing Harrison Bader. And it's now 3-2. Sports Midwest and the American Red Cross. To make an appointment to donate, use the Blood Donor app. Visit redcrossblood.org and enter sponsor code CARDS. 3-2. The Marlins with the lead. Top of 5 rolls in. And let's take a look at our Budweiser What's on Tap. And it's Miles Michaelis, and we've got day baseball tomorrow.
He's the guy we've been able to count on, isn't he? Almost every single one of his starts, he's been electric. 0, 1, 2 runs at max, and ERA is low. The strikes are high, and the win total outstanding for Miles Michaelis.
He's 6-1, and then it lines up in Cincinnati. Luke Weaver against Matt Harvey.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, Michael Wacha and Luis Castillo, and Carlos Martinez will go in Game 3. Anthony DeSclafani will go Sunday afternoon for the Reds. But Matt Harvey, you forget now, a member of that Reds rotation.
He's only 1-4, but the one win I happened to see, Dan, I was there for the Dodger reunion, the '88 reunion, and that was his first game as a Red against the Dodgers. He was throwing 95, and I would say unhittable for 2 or 3 innings. The Dodgers were down at the time, but Harvey looked like a bit like the Harvey of old.
And that's a foul ball. 0-2 on Starlin Castro. Got to wonder if you're a team in contention. Would Starlin Castro interest you? Longtime Cub and Yankee, and now with Miami.
Well, we're not there yet, but when we get to that point, and it's probably 6 weeks away, where they'll start to heavily look at kind of who's the sellers and who's the buyers, you'd certainly say Miami would be listening, let's put it that way, to any offer that would be advantageous to them. They're stockpiling good young players with the hope that in 3 years and 4 years they can compete again. And it's not as if the franchise hasn't done it before.
And a swing and a miss by Castro. It's 3 strikeouts in a row and 6 tonight for Jack Flaherty.
So we would hope that Jack would get back on track. And he has. Not making mistakes up in the zone as he did during the 3rd inning. And apparently the vision's okay.
Here's Derek Dietrich, a 2-run homer back in the 3rd. Marlins came into this series with the fewest home runs hit. in all of baseball. They've had 3 in 13 innings of this series.
And the Cardinals don't give up a lot of home runs. They gave up one today to Dietrich. 2-run shot in the 3rd inning, and that's really a big part of the Marlins offense here tonight. But the Cardinals staff, other than the Phillies, they lead the National League in fewest home runs allowed. And I'm surprised to hear about the Phillies too, because the Phillies ballpark, as we know, is a good hitter's ballpark.
Ooh, just under the glove of Jerko and a base hit into right field. And a 2-hit night for Dietrich. That's why a guy like Bryce Harper, I mean, if I'm the Phillies, I'm taking a look at Bryce Harper in free agency, and I realize it's going to cost a ton. We don't know what those numbers will be. Now we hear $400 or $500 million. Who knows? It'll be fascinating to see. But Harper in that ballpark for 81 games, oof. I mean, you're talking about the potential of, if healthy, and the kind of numbers he's put up, and he's so young.
I do love how confident and willing you are to spend somebody else's $400 million.
Absolutely. It's not my money. I'm all about it.
It just rolled off your tongue as if it was
no big deal.
$1.95.
Yeah. No big deal. I'll take a carton of milk, a loaf of bread, and Harper for $400 million. Wait, that's still not enough?
Wait a minute. $400 million. You realize you could get 800 rookies to pay $500,000. If my math is right.
Right. Machado, by the way, has had a monster season too for Baltimore. What will the numbers look like for him? It only takes one owner. Here's the 0-1 pitch to JT Realmuto. Now time called.
It actually helps if there's 2.
Bid against each other.
Yes.
Keep going back and forth.
Yeah.
It's happened in any sport you look at. An owner gets smitten with a player, and
right. One suggestion, however, don't sign him on March 28th.
I think we've seen that, and I think baseball has probably learned their lesson with that too, on both sides.
I think the players took note of it, certainly. You know, I know the players would say they don't need it. Pitchers don't say that as much as hitters say it. But, and it may drag a little bit from time to time, but the point is you do need it.
Here's a 1-1 pitch to Realmuto, fouled back. Now this is another young player, not making a lot of money, under control for a few more years, and Realmuto, where you wonder what he could get in a haul coming back to Miami. Probably a pretty good price, a steep price for him.
There are a lot of people that believe he's the National League's best catcher at the moment. So I would say yes, big price, big value for somebody trying to get some production behind the plate.
2 balls and 2 strikes.
Marlins at one point were trying to move Realmuto. I believe that was 2 springs ago. They were trying to move him to first base, and even this spring a little bit, thinking, well, we're going to bring in another catcher, get his bat in the lineup, and yet he's continued to. I don't know how you move him out from behind the plate. He's good at that too. He's good defensively. I think they're just trying to prolong his value in his career a little bit.
The 2-2 pitch, and a fly ball lifted to Ozuna. His former teammate backs up and makes the catch. Look from section 368 here at the ballpark. The Carlos Martinez Mystery Hair bobblehead is coming up Saturday, June 30th. And get those tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. Mystery Hair bobblehead.
I think I like the one in the front.
The silver?
The silver one.
I like that one
yeah,
too.
The purple one's pretty think that'd look good on you, but
Thanks.
whichever one you get, you'll love it.
Marlins are celebrating an anniversary. What is it, 25 years now in the league?
Yeah.
Some fans would like to see them go back to their teal colors. A statement now from Commissioner Rob Manfred on the passing of Red Shandings. Quote, the connection between Red and the fans of St. Louis spanned multiple generations. He was a wonderful ambassador for our game. On behalf of Major League Baseball, I extend my deepest condolences to Red's family, his many friends and admirers throughout our game, and Cardinals fans everywhere. Rob Manfred. The 1-1. The 2-1 pitch to Justin Bour. This could be a big at bat in the game. Bour has got tremendous power. Flaherty, his best pitch, the slider that at times is spun and hung tonight. That happens with Bour. It's back to a 3-run lead for Miami.
And you're getting into that danger area as far as pitch count is at 82 at the moment. And, you know, it's a fact. Why do teams take pitchers out after 100 pitches or 95 pitches? Because your effectiveness goes down a notch. It's just a fact. The slider's not quite as sharp. The fastball's not quite as crisp. You get a little tired. And the tiredness, by the way, is not necessarily your arm. Your body gets tired. I mean, you're exerting a lot of force, and you know, everybody thinks pitching is easy until you do it. Throw 10 pitches and you wake up the next day and you're sore. I mean, you know, Dan, from the guys that come to fantasy camp, they're stunned at that. No, they can't.
Now they're 60, but
right, good point.
I get the point, though.
Yes, good point.
Here's a walk to Bour, the first issued by Jack Flaherty. Marlins do have activity in their pen. A right-hander has just begun to throw. And there's no activity yet for the Cardinals. As Rick mentioned, Flaherty did hit for himself back in the 4th inning. The Cardinals have the top of the lineup coming up.
And you go back to, do you want those 6 pitches back that he had to throw after an error? And that's just one error, but we talked about the defensive issues yesterday. That many more pitches on your bullpen to have to throw. It really works. Pitching and defense go together, and pitching and defense win games.
It was the 40th walk that Justin Bour has picked up this year, 4th most in all of Major League Baseball. So runners at first and second, and Brian Anderson will be the batter. He's hitting .424 in his last 8 games. He's got an RBI tonight. We've talked about how the Marlins are going for a youth movement and upheaval with their roster, trying to rebuild. You just have to wonder if Jose Fernandez was still here, would that rebuild be taking place? That's a base hit into right center. Bour on his way to third as a run does come across, and Miami has a 4-2 lead. Another pitch, it looked to be up.
Frustrated Flaherty on a pitch that was right in the middle of the plate. That's a hanger. That was center cut. 85, not a lot of break to it. Give Anderson credit. He still had to hit it. 3rd round pick in 2014 from University of Arkansas. And he is a good player. We're going to hear a lot more about Brian Anderson as the years roll on.
So runners at second and third, and the batter is Rojas. That's strike one. And a ground ball slowly hit to Munoz. Gets rid of it, and a run will score as Martinez is off the bag. More than likely the second error in the ball game for Munoz.
That ball looked like it sailed on Munoz, and it will be an error on the Cardinal shortstop. His second. Fields it cleanly, but then the throw, off balance throw, too wide. And you know, Jose's had some issues around the bag with his footwork, and you know, he's still trying to figure out how to play it, but he did everything he could to try to stay on the bag on that particular throw that just sailed on Munoz.
And it's back to a 3-run Miami lead. Runners at the corners.
But part of being an infielder, not to give him an excuse with saying the ball sailed, part of being an infielder is throwing the ball in such a way so it doesn't sail. It's how you grip it. It's what seams you use. And maybe he didn't have the right grip, and of course he was off balance, but you just have to find a way. No excuses.
There's an 0-1 pitch to JT Riddle, and Riddle drives it out to right field. Another run will score, and the Marlins now with a 6-2 lead. Sam Tuivailala is now throwing for the Cardinals in their pen. Mike Matheny's trying to get at least one more out from Jack Flaherty. All 3 runs in this inning have scored with 2 down.
The curveball had a little break to it, but it was a lazy break. And I know that the score being what it is, just trying to get through some extra outs to save the bullpen. That's, again, a starting pitcher's job. You don't want to leave before you get through 5, and I know that's not always possible, but if you don't, that is a lot of outs to get.
Brett Cecil now throwing as well with Tuivailala. I want to wish a happy birthday to Marissa Kiley. She's 9 today. Her dad is Gabe Kiley, who writes for Cardinals Magazine. I'm sure many fans have read his work. Does a terrific job, but happy birthday to Marissa Kiley. Runners at first and second, 1 ball, 1 strike. 26th pitch of the inning right there. Couple of hops hit to second. Marlins pick up 3. They've got 8 hits tonight and now a 6-2 lead. This summer, the World Cup is coming to Fox and FS1. Every match live and over 300 hours of coverage. World's biggest sporting event begins June 14th on Fox and FS1. The Cubs and Phillies are tied 3-3. Pittsburgh 11, the Dodgers 7. That's in the bottom of the 7th. Rockies have a 6-3 lead over Cincinnati.
I was waiting for one of those big Cardinal finishes last night. Didn't happen. Maybe tonight. We've been conditioned to look forward to those, haven't we?
Absolutely. Carpenter broke his bat. The ball went right through Chen's legs, and it's an out. Doug Armstrong would not sign Chen to be a goalie.
Nope. Nope. 5-hole. That is the 5-hole, isn't it?
Yes, sir. You've turned into a big hockey fan, though.
I do love the Blues. Always love it when season gets going. It's so much fun to be at a Blues game. And I know a lot of the Blues folks love Cardinal baseball, so it's a nice relationship.
Here's the 0-1 pitch to Tommy Pham. Matter of fact, I talked to the Hall of Famer Bernie Federko. He'll be at the ballpark tomorrow. Loves coming to Cardinals games. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Watch out.
Oh boy. Thankfully the screen was there. And they're thankful at the moment. Oh my goodness. All those years we said we don't want a screen, we take it back.
Yeah.
You know, that was an issue, Dan.
Absolutely.
In a lot of ballparks where the fans just didn't want it. They thought it would obscure their vision. Well, if you get hit with that baseball, your vision would be obscured all right.
Here's a 2-2. Pham fights it off, and a base hit into right. A 2-hit night for Tommy Pham, who's hitting just over 100 in his last 14 games.
Well, clearly he doesn't get this one on the barrel, but he's strong enough to get it over Castro's head. Cutter in. Love to see Tommy get going again. 266 coming into play today, and there was a time where he was at 320 and just tearing it up. And he'll tear it up again at some point. And when he does, he can carry the Cardinals offense.
Jose Martinez now back above the 300 mark at 303 with 2 hits tonight, single and a double. RBI that brought in Tommy Pham, scored him from first. The Cardinals' other run was a sac fly by Jairo Munoz to bring in Harrison Bader. Here's the 0-1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Evan Mendoza played at Palm Beach and now has been elevated to Double-A. 11th round pick out of NC State in 2017. He is your pitcher of the month in the minor, or rather player of the month in the minor leagues for the Cardinals.
He's tearing it up.
Oh, there's a lot of people high on him. And Austin Warner had 4 starts at Palm Beach and an 0.91 ERA, so he is your pitcher of the month. I think when you look at the draft of the Cardinals, they're looking for an impact bat, a position player. Very good pitching at AAA, Double-A, but can they get an impact bat? I think, as you talked about too, now more than ever, a player is drafted and you'll see them within 2 years, sometimes 3 years, they're in the big leagues.
Overall, with the Cardinals completing the draft, Dan, they selected 19 pitchers, 4 catchers, 12 infielders, and 6 outfielders. Doesn't mean you're going to sign all of them. You hope to.
And the top 3 picks for St. Louis.
Power hitter Nolan Gorman, high school pick. Griffin Roberts from Wake Forest. High strikeout walk ratio. That's where he got on the map. And Lucan Baker, number 3.
3-2 is fouled back. Well, the Marlins have scored now 13 runs. Last 2 games, the most they've scored since they had 14 back in early May in back-to-back games against the Reds. 3-2 pitch, floats in for a ball. The second walk, one of those intentional by Chen. And the batter is Marcell Ozuna, and Don Mattingly will go to his bullpen. So right-hander will come into the ball game. They have 7 of those in their pen, and Marcell Ozuna will be the batter with 2 runners on when we come back. Come in with runners at first and second in relief of Chen. Chen will not qualify for the win. The Marlins bullpen, by the way, the 2nd worst ERA in baseball, near 6, but yet they retired the last 12 Cardinals in game 1 of the series.
You know, Cardinals bullpen, I said the bullpen would be a factor. Well, it's a factor early for both teams. Chen only able to go 4 1/3. I think this at bat right here with Ozuna facing a lefty was just something Don Mattingly didn't want to have to look at.
And a little tapper hit left side, out there, back to first, and safe. Chen had a really slow walk off the mound. You could see he was not happy, and that carried over to the dugout.
Yeah, he's making a statement there. But 1-out walk to Martinez is in front of a guy like Marcell Ozuna. That's the answer.
Yeah. So runners at the corners. Here's Molina, who is struck out and also grounded out.
You know, Jack Flaherty deserved a little bit better in this game from the Cardinals side. 92 pitches. I'm guessing he's out of this game. And we know obviously Chen is, but a couple of errors made it harder for Flaherty. 2 unearned runs, 6 runs given up. Certainly not good, but only 4 of them earned. 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for Flaherty.
0-2 on Molina. Struck out, grounded out. Outfield fairly shallow for Yadier Molina. And the 0-2. Fouled back. Here's a 1-2 pitch. Molina pulls it foul. Molina fouls it back again.
Tell Yadi's timing's not perfect yet, and that's going to take some time, Dan, after being off for a while. You know, you can do a lot of simulated things, and of course being behind the plate is the biggest worry for Yadi health-wise, and he's able to continue to do that. That's been spectacular, and it's great to have him back, and he's such a gamer. I mean, he is an absolute gamer, but hitting is such a timing thing. Going to take some time to get right.
And a swing and a miss. He strikes out. The Cardinals strand a pair. They have left 6 on through 5. Struck out 6, walked 1, and allowed a home run, a 2-run shot to Derek Dietrich back in the third.
Shocking number for Cecil as we look at our Chevy call to the bullpen is his numbers against left-handed batters. You could say the same thing about Tyler Lyons, and of course we got the news today officially from the Cardinals about the Tommy John surgery for Ryan Sheriff. So on the left side, the Cardinals have really gone in a bad direction now. Austin Gomber was outstanding in his major league debut. It was fun to watch him, and he's really a work in progress as far as being a reliever is concerned. But the Cardinals have to shore up the left side of their bullpen.
Rosinski really looks like he can't wait to dig in. Now he does. At first pitch, he was almost out of the box.
Oh my.
He may have hurt himself. That's his. He's grabbing his left shoulder and then went down towards his leg, and now they're going to check in on him. It's a reliever, rarely hits, so obviously foreign territory to him.
That was left shoulder, not right.
No.
And I don't know if he hit his left shoulder with the bat or if he just kind of pulled out the shoulder on the wild swing, but that's not a swing that is conducive to health anyway. This is just a wild swing, and there it goes, and he went so far around that the left shoulder apparently got bothered, and that's, I mean, that was a pretty strong reaction, Dan. That wasn't just, oh, I kind of strained something here.
He's going to stay in. This is his first ever major league appearance. I wouldn't think he'd swing the bat now.
Well, I think he would hold the bat on his shoulder the rest of the time. He's going to.
And the pressure now on Cecil to definitely throw a strike.
Everybody knows he's not swinging the bat. Just let it go.
There it is. And the strikeout. So Cecil gets the first out here in the top of the 6th.
Pitch arsenal of Brett Cecil brought to you by Hyundai. 40% fastballs. The curveball, when he's right, that's his best pitch. He has a spike curveball, and it can be nasty. The changeup also very good at times, but the consistency is still the question. If you're going to come in, Dan, and face 4 hitters, you can't make mistakes. You have to be sharp with everybody, or what starts out as a good day turns into a bad day. And I think that's his next hurdle, is to just kind of get the consistency. Now, he's had that in his career. He's a veteran guy, but it just hasn't really gotten fully together here in a Cardinal uniform.
And it's 2 balls and no strikes. He is averaging about 10 pitches per outing, and we were talking during the break, these types of games, you know how you save a bullpen is that somebody comes in and gives you 3 to 4 innings.
But with him due up 4th, Cardinals already have some moving around in their bullpen to back him up, but in a 6-2 game you do need somebody to go long.
And a base hit into right center by Starlin Castro, a double, and he's now 2 for 4.
Wasn't a bad location. Sinking fastball. Velocity is down for Cecil.
And it's a foul ball by Derek Dietrich. That's our Nissan drive of the game, and a home run by Dietrich into the Cardinal bullpen. I just got a a picture sent to me by Scott Carlton, who is Steve Carlton's son. And Scott relayed the passing of Red Chaindienst to his dad. He said his dad wanted everybody to know that he's thinking of Red's family. And there's a outstanding photo with Steve Carlton, Bob Gibson, and Red all together. He said his dad was very shook up and really loved the man and respected Red Chaindienst.
You know, Dan also reminding me that I have a cherished photo of being in the Cardinal dugout, and it was Red Chaindienst and Stan Musial on both sides of me as a rookie.
Great.
And I got that picture taken and sent to my grandmother, who is a fan of both of them, a big Cardinal fan in New York, loved both Red and Stan, and I was able to send her that photo just before she passed during the 1985 World Series. So that was very meaningful in our family moments, really, to be able to share that with her. And from the time I can remember, she would talk about the Cardinals. And when you talk about the Cardinals, you have to talk about Red, Stan. Certainly in that generation you did.
No doubt. Popped up again and out of play.
And I know, Dan, for younger fans that may not know a lot about Red or not a lot about players that certainly played a long time ago, but they're worth reading up on. Their life story, things that they went through, their military service, their commitment to St. Louis. So many wonderful things to say about them. They're worth learning more about.
No question. 2-2 the count on Derek Dietrich. Right now, it has not been a good ball game for the Cardinals, and then fan base heard about the passing of Red, and really it's a sad night at the ballpark. There's no doubt. A liner that's off the glove of Martinez into right. Another run will score. The throw by Bader into second base, a strike. The tag applied for out number 2. It's a 3-hit night for Derek Dietrich.
There's another hit lefty against lefty off of Cecil, and good effort by Martinez, couldn't come up with it, and then Bader always hustling, even trailing by 4, now 5. Bader right on the money to get Dietrich.
He's got a good arm.
He does.
The Marlins had 9 runs the previous 5 games coming into this series. Already with 14 in a game and a half. JT Realmuto at the plate. He's hit by a pitch. Double to right center and scored, and also flied out to left. A big night for Dietrich. 3 hits, 3 RBI. And the 1-1 pitch pulled foul. And the 1-2 is hit out to deep right. Bader going back. He'll look up, and it's off the wall and then over him. Realmuto, who can really run, on his way to third. The throw by Bader, not in time.
Bader wanted back-to-back assists in a game that's just falling away from the Cardinals at the moment. That ball goes over his head. He tried to time it a little too close to the wall. That forces Realmuto to third, and the throw just a little bit late. Very strong throw. He wasn't thinking cutoff man at that point. He was just thinking, we need outs.
Yeah. Well, counting the minor leagues already, the 16th triple Real Muto's career. Not bad for a catcher. Here's Bohr, who singled and walked and scored. Now, 2 years ago, Bohr really struggled against the lefties to the point that Marlins were platooning him at times. This is where Brett Cecil, he's got to get lefties out.
Well, the way he's going to do it is with the wipeout breaking ball when it's right.
And a grounder left side. Kicked. Run will score. 8-2. It'll be an error on Munoz, his third of the night.
Well, this isn't the easiest of plays, but it's a play he should have made. He would have had time to get Bohr, and it's been a rough night for Munoz. And I would say a rough night for all of us.
Pitch taken high by Brian Anderson. First 3-year game by a Cardinals shortstop since Ledmus Diaz in 2016. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. No one up and throwing.
Speaking of
in the Cardinal pen.
Shortstops, Danny, we did have a nice conversation with Paul DeYoung today in the Cardinals dugout before batting practice. He had a glove on his wrong hand. He had a left-hander's glove. He basically wants to go out. He wanted to go out and shag, but couldn't really do it the other way. So he had a glove on his hand, and he said he's progressing along, and you know, we won't see DeYoung till somewhere around the All-Star break, and we don't know. He doesn't know, but it'd be nice to have him back, and he's doing everything he can do to come back as quickly as possible.
It's one thing that, you know, you talk about the power of DeYoung, but he is an above average defensive shortstop. And the 3-1 pitch to Anderson.
Got a nice text from Tom Henke, who's watching our broadcast, and Tom shared that Shane Dietz was as good a person as there ever was in this game, and he wanted to pass along his sympathy to Red's family.
Preston Gilmet just picked up a baseball and started to play catch. 26 pitches for Cecil, and that is a season high. Cardinals trailing 8-2. And here's Miguel Rojas. And there's ball one. One ball and one strike.
You know, Danny, Brett Cecil had 3 straight years out of the Toronto bullpen with 60 or more appearances, with an ERA under 3 all 3 years.
In the American League East.
In the American League East, exactly right. So it's, I know, frustrating for him that he hasn't found his form here as a Cardinal.
Slowly hit to third. High throw, and Martinez down on the bag for the out. Cardinals tonight. Chin could not register for the win. Lifted after 4 1/3. Dietrich, a big night. Flaherty, 5 innings. Jose Martinez 2 for 2 with an RBI. Along with Rick Horton, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Jim Hayes is here as well. Rosinski got the final out. The final 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th and still in the game.
Not sure who's more upset here at the ballpark, whether it's the fans or Chin, the starter, who didn't get to finish that 5th inning.
He was hot.
And part of the reason.
Slowly hit up the middle, tough play, and what a play it is by Starlin Castro as he flipped it over to first.
That's an outstanding play, and back through the box, quick hands. It is hard to throw a baseball that long, that hard from that motion, but he did it. And his inability, and I'd say inability, but not able to catch Tommy Pham's little bloop is why Chin got out of this game. So it wasn't as if he was hit around either. And he walked Martinez after having 2 strikes on him. So I get the frustration of Chin, but Don Mattingly's trying to win a ball game.
And with 1 out, here's Harrison Bader. Oh, 2. Bader just seems to bring life to the ballpark.
You know, when there's not a lot of life in an 8-2 game at the moment, where you're been out hit 11-6, but when you think of some of his moments, running the ball out, charging the ball hard in right field, reasons for hope.
Energy,
yeah. And you know, it's easy to bring energy, Dan. You and I know, we've been around this game for a long time, but it's easy to bring energy when things are going well. Bring energy when it's not.
0-2 the count on Harrison Bader. 8-2 our score. Brzezinski, remember, he was at the plate and swung and missed in his first major league at bat, and it was his left shoulder that was hurt, not the right. So he initially grabs the baseball with that splitter grip.
Someday his family will ask him, tell us about your first major league at bat. He said, well, they wouldn't let me swing.
And I almost fell over when I did. Marlins pen now 16 in a row in this series. Cardinals have struck out 4 times. Here's Jairo Munoz. Boy, it's been a tough night at the park for Munoz with 3 errors.
You know, his offense has been good, though. Think about what he's done really in the last couple of weeks since the 22nd of May. Munoz hitting .391. He's got his average up to .395. And, you know, I'm not sure what his best position is. Dan, I think the jury's still out on that. He's probably best as a super utility guy. Play all over the place, really. But the demands of playing shortstop every day, that's tough. And a tough day. And doesn't mean he's not going to have good days. We've seen him have good days as a shortstop. Many of them. In spring training, for sure. It makes me think of what Jose Oquendo has said to me many times. He says, I don't worry about a player making an error. I worry about the next ball hit to him. Because if he starts thinking he's not going to catch that one too, then it spirals. And I think it spiraled a bit today for Munoz.
And a strike, 3-1. And that's driven out to deep right field. The catch, though, is made by Anderson. And the Cardinals go in order here in the bottom of the 6th. Marlins on top 8-2. As we talked about, it's been a tough couple of nights at the ballpark for Jairo Munoz, the BJC Healthcare difference maker.
And you know, Dan, when you make a mistake, again, it tends to spiral. You start to think about the next throw instead of just doing what you do naturally. And, you know, you have to trust your ability. It's so easy to say that. And I know the coaches will tell them that, look, you know how to play, just kind of forget about it. Well, you know, it's hard to forget about it. And if you overthink about it, it's the same as hitting. You can get into a slump hitting, you can get into a slump fielding, and you don't think your way out of it. You play your way out of it. just as when you get in a slump hitting, you just swing your way out of it. Not that thinking is not a, don't want to be against thinking, Dan, but I think you can overthink in this game pretty easily. Chevy called to the bullpen. Preston Guillemette. Guillemette had some good numbers, Dan, in AAA. Was the closer for Memphis. We liked what we saw of him in spring training. After pitching overseas, came back. I thought he was impressive, opened some eyes, obviously struggled here last night.
JT Riddle at the plate, RBI base hit back in the 5th, and he's 1 for 3. So Francisco Pena will go into the 9th spot in the Cardinal lineup, and Guillemette will take over for Molina's spot. Cardinals try to get at least a couple innings from this right-hander potentially tonight. Another very tough outing for Brett Cecil in that 6th. Three hits, 2 runs, 1 strikeout. Walked a man. Gives way to Guillemette. And the 0-2. The strikeout. Marlins have struck out 8 times in this game.
It's a good start here for Guillemette in this game. Paints the inside corner with 91. He has that split that very difficult to hit, and he's going to throw that a lot. That's really his pitch.
Here's Lewis Brenton. And then the pitcher's spot coming up for the Marlins. Strike 1. Brenton from the Miami area wears number 9. His favorite player, Juan Pierre. Grew up a big Marlins fan, and Pierre was his favorite player. And Juan Pierre and Luis Castillo at the top of their lineup for a number of years. So he hits one high, deep, left field, and gone. Lewis Brenton, 8th home run, and it's now a 9-2 Marlins lead.
Marlins are excited about the tools of Brinson. One of those tools is power. That one was a no-doubter.
Brzezinski, the pitcher.
He's going to remember his second major league at bat with equal excitement of his first. So kids, let me tell you about my major league first at bat. Swung and missed, hurt my arm. They wouldn't let me swing ever again.
1-2.
I mean, you dream about this day, Dan. I understand he's a pitcher, but you're getting this bat, you're getting an at bat in the big leagues. As a 29-year-old, you thought this would never come, and could have phoned that in.
Want to buy or sell tickets at the last minute? Get the StubHub app. You can grab 100% MLB verified tickets until the first pitch. Sell your extras to another fan. Get the StubHub app today. StubHub, official partner of the Cardinals.
Dan, I had a nice tweet passed along from Albert Pujols about Red Schoendienst, and said that it was a privilege to know and learn from one of baseball's best. Red Schoendienst, truly one of the greatest mentors in the game. He always made time for me. I'll cherish the time that we spent together. My thoughts and prayers are with him and his family. Albert Pujols.
I would hope that we would see Albert Pujols next year come through St. Louis. Cardinals scheduled to play the National League West next year in Interleague. And that's lined into right, and a fair ball off the bat of Starlin Castro, played off the sidewall. And Castro, his third hit, second double of the night.
There's the split, and it just sat up there at the top of the zone. I think fair to say on the pitching side, Dan, we've seen a lot of mistakes in this game. A lot of pitches that were not in the intended place, and not again to take anything away from the Marlins offense and say that they didn't have anything to do with it, but I think there's some pitches that every one of the Cardinal pitchers that we've seen would like to have back.
I want to say congratulations to our broadcast partner, the Cardinals Hall of Famer Jim Edmonds and his wife Megan, with the birth of twin baby boys. Everybody's healthy, doing great.
Outstanding.
Talked to Jimmy today, and he is one proud papa and excited. One ball, one strike on Derek Dietrich. It's Lewis Brinson, that long home run that he hit. Happy birthday to Fred and Linda Peacock. Fred 80, Linda 79, and enjoying Cardinals baseball. Fred and Linda Peacock, happy birthday. Marlins average about 2 extra base hits per game. They've got 7 tonight. Nice play by Jerko, flips it to first and safe.
Boy, nothing going right, and that was such a good play on the backhand by Jerko, and I'm sure that'll be a hit. To wait and see the ruling, but just nothing working out right. There's a good play. There's the throw, and just a little high, and Jose had to come off the bag. Boy, a lot of frustration brewing. You saw the shot of Brinson kind of smiling and laughing. Phrase in baseball that's been around a long time is a game like this, they call it a laugher. When you get to smile and laugh a lot because you get the big lead early, and it's almost turning into that for the Marlins here tonight.
Well, if the Cardinals don't come back and win this game, it's probably appropriate that St. Louis scores 2 runs tonight. Hall of Famer Red Schoendienst, war number 2.
Something tells me Red would have preferred they scored 10, but the 2 would be fitting.
It's 2 balls and no strikes on JT Realmuto. That's whacked out to left and a base hit to make it a 10-2 Marlins lead. Realmuto a double, and it's 10-2. 4 hits in the inning.
And it's another pitch up in the zone. That's another mistake. That's not the intended target. Meant to be down and away, and it just sat there.
Here's Justin Bour with runners at second and third. Bour has singled, walked and scored, reached on an error, and looks at a strike. Marlins with 20 base runners in the last 5 innings. It's a team that came into this series searching for offense, any kind. They found it here in these first 2 nights. Three infielders on the right side for Bohr. And the 1-1 pitch. 1-2. Cleveland post a victory over Milwaukee. And the Phillies and Cubs are tied 3-3. And the 1-2 pitch. A swing and a miss. Gateway Honda home run inning. Cardinals hit a home run. The Gateway Honda dealers donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation of Missouri. It'll be Pena, Carpenter, and Pham for the Cardinals. Brzezinski came in the 5th with 2 on and 1 out and has done an outstanding job.
Give him credit in a game where there has not been good pitching really by anybody other than him. Wei-Yin Chen went 4 1/3 innings. He only gave up 2 runs, but he was on the ropes for sure, and I think made sense for Don Mattingly to go and get him, but he wasn't, I would say, sharp, and certainly on the Cardinals side, not their best night.
And the 0-1 pitch to Pena. Ground ball that's pulled foul. You know, it's a tough night even when Jose Oquendo can't come up with
it. Well, I'm not worried about Jose making that error. I'm worried about what he does with the next ball hit to him.
Take his own advice, right?
Yeah. If I could go down there and talk to him, I would tell him that in broken Spanish. He understands my broken Spanish, by the way. I appreciate that about him. He just kind of nods and goes, "You don't really know what you're saying," but that's okay.
It's one intense man down there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he knows the game. Big time.
Here's a 1-2 pitch. Pena, ground ball that's hit to second. Starlin Castro with it. And there's one away. The Phillips 66 ticket vouchers are back, and they're better than ever. Philip at Phillips 66, 8 gallons or more, and get a voucher for up to 50% off on up to 8 tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. Keeping score.
Is that a pen she has? I believe she's doing it in pen.
Yep. I do mine in colored Sharpies. You have a black pen.
I do.
You know, one of the issues for the Cardinals and their bullpen is that you're hoping Cecil could be efficient to give you more than one inning. Guillemette, the same thing. And now, because of the inefficient outings for both of them, you got John Brebbia getting loose to pitch next inning. One ball, one strike on Matt Carpenter. He's grounded to second, grounded to short, fly to center. Boy, tributes are pouring in from all over the world about Red Schoendienst.
Got a nice note from Tom Lawless. Sad day in Cardinal history. So many former players, of course. Be mourning Red's death and celebrating his life.
And that pitch taken low. Two and two the count on Matt Carpenter.
I think your point, Dan, to go back to that on the Cardinals already using Cecil and Guillemette, but having to use Brebbia now, it just feels like an extra loss to have to use another pitcher in a game where you're trailing by 8. I mean, the value of somebody that can go out behind your starter and pitch 2-3 innings.
That one hops off the wall and a double for Carpenter. Ian Martinez tied in that category with 16 this year.
A lot of hits the other way for Matt Carpenter in the last 3 weeks. And I think it kind of started with him finding this stroke. Not a fly ball to left on that pitch, which we saw early, but a line drive to left center. Such a small difference on the bat head. And where he hits the baseball, the difference between a pop up to left and a line drive to left center.
There's Tommy Pham. And Pham hits a high fly ball out to right. Carpenter will tag up. The catch made by Anderson. The Marlins pen has now faced 22 batters in the series. They have retired 20 of them. The Cardinals pen, by the way, has faced 40 batters in the series. 26 have reached. Jose Martinez with a runner at third, on base 3 times. And a ball. Single to left, a double to left, and an RBI, and also walked. And the 1-1 just missed. And it's out of play.
If the score stays as it does, this would be the kind of game that you might think, well, maybe we'll see Greg Garcia pitch the 9th inning, but he's not here. He's on paternity leave, so he's not available. I wonder who the Cardinals would use for that. I would think Jerko. Garcia's your first choice, I think.
Luke Voigt. Out of play.
Luke Voigt probably also your emergency catcher.
Definitely.
Without Garcia here. Jerko's been on that list too as a potential catcher. Seems like you go back to the same names, but not an easy game to manage because of that. You're trying to manage a game that's out of hand and trying to not compound the problem by, again, using too many pitchers.
I think your point's a valid one. I think you might look in that direction.
I mean, would you rather
burn a guy or use a position player? Right?
I think that has to be in the conversation. So if Brebbia goes 2, then you can't use him again, right? So you've wasted him again in a 10-2 game. I'm not saying the Cardinals can't come back. It could happen. And then you also have to think about that as a manager. Okay, what if we do come back with a 4-run 8th and a monster bottom of the 9th and we're still playing? Then what do we do? You have to at least be aware of that, of what your options might be.
And the 3-2 pitch off the end of the bat, and this ball will drop for a base hit. Another hit for Jose Martinez. 3 for 3 with a walk, and he's driven in 2.
8-pitch at bat for Jose Martinez, and he gets rewarded for it. Off the end of the bat. But to the right spot.
Tyler Cloyd is going to be the new pitcher, and it looks like a double switch. We'll tell you about that when we come back. Moments happen. Budweiser will be there. And by Ford, going further so you can. Chuck is the new left fielder. He'll go in the second spot for Dietrich, it looks like. And then you have the pitcher go into the ninth spot.
Chuck, if you remember, Dan, a couple hours ago, was supposed to be in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
He was scratched, but now he's playing, and so is Tyler Cloyd. Been around a little bit. He's pitched for the Phillies at the big league level and the Seattle Mariners just for a short spell.
Have you noticed the bugs around the ballpark?
Oh, I have.
They're all over the place tonight. They're starting to make their way down towards the playing surface. They've talked about in the past, sometimes they put something on the playing surface that will draw them in. It happened a lot at the old ballpark. And for whatever reason, it does attract the moths, certain types of bugs. Or maybe it's just you.
Well, we see him for sure. We saw him early up in our booth, and now as we look out from where we are about the height of the lights here at the ballpark, they're all over the place.
Yeah. Floyd comes in and strikes out Marcell Ozuna. Sends us to the 8th. And it's the offense and a lot of it for the Marlins. And I mean a lot of it.
And a lot of extra base hits, 8 extra base hits, 6 for 13 with runners in scoring position. And all of their position players have reached base. That's one of those offensive days that you hope for when everything's just clicking, and certainly not clicking on the Cardinals side. But Don Mattingly clicked a little bit as a player, did he not?
Oh boy, what a great player.
I believe the best swing that I've seen in the game as a player. I mean, I just thought this guy can't make any outs. Now, he went through a time in his career where he lost his power and didn't have the big finish to his career, but early in his career, you just could not get that man out. And a terrific defensive player, too.
A Chevy call to the pen, John Brebbia. Don Mattingly never won a world title with the Yankees. His final year was in 1995, and that was the famous playoff game with the Seattle Mariners, with Ken Griffey scoring after a base hit by Edgar Martinez, and that was it. The next year the Yankees won the world title, 1996, under Joe Torre, but Don Mattingly, they wanted him back, but he said he'd had enough, and they had won that championship. Here's a 2-0 pitch to Brian Anderson. Luke Voigt is into the ball game. He's at first base.
I wonder if a couple more years as a Yankee in those playoff runs and some more hits and a few more home runs, and he wouldn't be.
He's Cooperstown.
A Cooperstown man.
Yeah, he's bound.
I think he's close anyway.
Sure is. You know, he was close to becoming a Cardinal. There was essentially a deal in place to bring Mattingly to St. Louis, and he was in a contract situation with the boss, George Steinbrenner. There's a fly ball out to right. Bader over near the wall and makes the catch. Nice play. Apparently the players basically had been agreed upon, and then Steinbrenner pulled out of the deal and pulled Mattingly back and met his demands.
Nice play by Bader. Nice play by Bader amongst the bugs. It has to navigate the wall and the bugs.
The strike to Miguel Rojas.
I am still very curious who has the ninth inning. It may be Brebbia. They may have him go 2.
It's set up to do that with a double switch, but as you mentioned, you have him go 2 tonight. That means he is not going tomorrow, more than likely in a day game. Quick turnaround. We'll be on the air tomorrow at 11:30. And the 2-1 pitch.
So that would leave you just 5 relievers for tomorrow's game if you cannot use Brebbia again tomorrow. The good news is you have Miles Michaelis going.
Give you some length in the ball game from your starter. That's
you have
foul.
Some of your top guys available, including Jordan Hicks and Bud Norris, to back up Michaelis.
Rojas twice has reached on an error by Munoz. He's hit into a double play and also grounded out to third. And the 3-2 pitch. Chased the ball, but Brebbia says thank you. Phillies now in the bottom of the 9th with a 5-3 lead over the Cubs.
There's some good news.
Milwaukee is lost already tonight. Well, this has been, though, back-to-back really disappointing games for the Cardinals. Again, long season, but Miami comes in, a team that has not played well this year. Cardinals coming off an exciting start to the homestand over Pittsburgh in the weekend, and the walk-offs, the Waka game, that has come to a screeching halt.
And there's not a simple explanation to it, and I know we all want one. Isn't that true about baseball?
No doubt.
You can't explain it, Dan. And you know, you can't just simplify it and just say, well, they're not, whatever reason. I mean, it's not an effort question. It's just an execution question. It's a game of execution. Sometimes you execute, sometimes you don't. And there are times where you execute that you expect to be able to execute the next day also and keep going on a roll, and then but as you say, screeching halts happen.
And the 3-2 pitch. On a hop to second.
Oh,
what a play. What a tremendous play by Jed Jerko with the English on that baseball.
Well, that even makes the Cardinals laugh despite the tough day, and that was odd. Actually odd to see Brebbia's reaction too, but look at the spin. Quick right turn, quick hands. Whoops, I have my glove, but I don't need it. We always talk about Jerko. We use the word athlete to describe him. That he just does so many things well athletically. Good hand-eye coordination. And there's a perfect example of that. That is not an easy play.
Here's JT Riddle. Mentioned that Alex Reyes is headed for surgery, done for the year. It's the 20th time the Cardinals have listed a player on the DL, which is tied for most in all of baseball with Texas. And some of those injuries more devastating than others. That one hurts. Three 3-0 the count. Pitch count at 17 here for Brebbia. Three and one.
You know, Dan, I know this is going to sound, I don't know what's going to sound to most people, but I think in the clubhouse you really have to remind each other on a day like this that you just have to weather the storm.
Knocked down by Voigt, and Brebbia to the bag. It'll get better. 1-2-3 go the Marlins midway through 8. 10-3. Take home an adult bucket hat courtesy of Coca-Cola, and kids 15 and younger entering with a ticket receive a kids bucket hat courtesy of Powerade. Tickets at cardinals.com/promotions. It's a nice play by Luke Voigt to end the top half of the inning. Our crowd tonight 40,109. 40109.
You know, Luke Voigt could do something for the Cardinals, Dan, that has been a bit of a low point for them this year, and that's been their pinch hitting. Just 149 average in total. He had a nice pinch hit in the game where Munoz had the walk-off, and that was a key hit in that game. And Cardinals are just 11 for 74, no home runs, 9 RBIs.
And Voit hits it off the end of the bat and a fly ball into shallow right. That's the first out here in the home half of the 8th. Well, Cloyd in his second inning of work. And a high fly ball lifted into right off the bat of Jed Jerko. 2 away.
Nice text, Danny, from Charlie James, our good friend, who's certainly part of that '67 Cardinals team, and just an outstanding St. Louisan and Cardinal. And he's, of course, reminiscing about Red. And he said that both he and his wife Joe remember how wonderful Red and Mary were to the young players, and he was just the best, and certainly will miss them. So we appreciate Charlie sending that along.
Tom Mee had a shot, our esteemed director of Red, Jack Buck, and Stan all together. The wall out and left. And you'd like to think they're all back together tonight.
Yep.
The 3 were best of friends. A strikeout of Bader. Or Phillips 66. What's in the tank? Most innings pitched by rookie reliever this year, Jordan Hicks, with an even 30, and he's been outstanding.
He'll certainly be ready to go tomorrow. And Jed Jerko, our Chevy call to the bullpen. Those are words I didn't think I was going to say here tonight.
This is his first ever appearance on the mound. And a high fly ball into left center, and this ball is gone. Lewis Brenton, a 2 home run night. And Jerko has an ERA.
Well, all you're trying to do, honestly, as a infielder pitching in a moment like this, is just get through it.
Don't get hurt. Get through it.
And typically the guys that you will use in this situation are guys that are veteran guys that have good reactions. So they're going to be able to field their position because they're not used to a ball getting hit up through the box. So just throw strikes. Don't try to be too fancy. Unless you're Jose Oquendo, then go ahead and throw sliders and changeups and curveballs.
Right. His famous appearance. Well, many of them, but did a pretty good job as Shuck flies to left. And Jerko has an out.
Actually, now he has an ERA.
There you go.
I finished up a game with Jose Oquendo pitching. I was playing right field, and Willie McGee was playing shortstop. It was in Philadelphia, and 2 balls were hit over my head. One of them, Lance Parrish, hit a ball over my head in right, and Willie was so mad at me, or I'm sorry, Jose was mad at me for not making the play.
And Starlin Castro on his way to second base with a 1-out double, his 4th hit of the night, his 3rd double.
And I also remember, honestly, Dan, one of the funniest things, Mike Rourke was sent down to the bullpen, and Todd Worrell and I were the only guys remaining on the bench, and they had to find somebody to play right field for Oquendo to pitch in the bottom of the 8th. It was in Philadelphia, and Mike Rourke came down to the bullpen, and Todd and I were there, and Todd had played some right field. And so Mike Rourke came down and looked at both of us and said, well, what Whitey's thinking is we need somebody to play right field, and he doesn't want Todd to get hurt, so Rick, you've got to go do it. And I thought, well, thank you for that compliment. I guess I'm a little more expendable, which of course was true.
Compliment,
yeah,
huh?
I guess. And of course it was true, but still.
Yeah, it stings.
It stings a little still.
This is the pitcher, Tyler Cloyd, at the plate. And a ground ball stopped by Munoz, and he makes the play.
Jerko's throwing, in case you're wondering, about 75, 76 miles an hour. Again, that's the deal. Throw strikes, get it done, don't get anybody hurt, including yourself. That's his objective. Did get up to 80.
Got in his kitchen there. JT Realmuto at the plate.
Now,
I remember when Whitey would use Worrell in right,
yes,
and bring him in to face a hitter, bring somebody else in, Worrell goes to right and then comes back in.
But he's doing that in games that matter, in close games.
Right. Now Realmuto is hit by the pitch.
Tried to throw a wrinkle. Curveball didn't curve. It happens.
Amazingly, the benches did not clear. And now Justin Bohr. This one worries me a little bit.
Yeah.
Now Bohr was part of the home run derby, and this is about home run derby speed.
Oh, if he had a changeup right here.
One ball, one strike. And he chops it to the right side.
Not bad. Not bad, Jed Jerko.
Jed Jerko, an inning in which he gave up a couple of hits, including a home run. He had 16 pitches, 9 were strikes. He topped out at 83 miles per hour.
Not bad. Tried to throw a curveball, didn't work. Hit a batter. He's had the experience. Gave up the run, the big fly. You're not really a pitcher till you give up a big fly. Didn't get his first strikeout, but he is the pitcher of record. Perhaps on the positive side, if the Cardinals come back, wouldn't that be interesting? Wonder if that's ever happened. You think?
No.
An infielder comes in, pitches a mop-up inning, and you score 9 runs, and he wins.
How big was the margin of what's the difference in the game? 8 runs?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
I'd like to see more of Jerko.
Well, he's still got his game face on.
Oh yeah.
But he had to have enjoyed that.
There's Pena now.
You know, Dan, in a day, honestly, full of sorrows with Reds passing. Nice to have a little lighthearted moment there with Jerko pitching in the 9th.
You'll see a lot on Red in his life and his Cardinal life on the postgame show. Here's a 1-1 pitch. Popped up and out of play. Again, a quick turnaround, 11:30 with the pregame show tomorrow. And Pena strikes out. And the Cardinals are down to their final out. That's a 3rd strikeout for Cloyd, who came in with 2 outs back in the 7th. Matt Carpenter, a double to left center and a run scored. 1 for 4 on the night. Two balls and no strikes. And Carpenter with a high fly ball into right center. Brenson is there. The Marlins have taken the first 2 games of this series. And here in game 2, they win it by the final of 11-3.
Disappointing loss. Cardinals just couldn't get it done. Too many mistakes pitching and some rough defense again. All Marlins tonight.
The postgame show, Missouri Lottery Cardinals Live, is next.